relationship that we share with ourselves. And the question that it brings up is, do I really like myself? And through, today when we talk and when we explore this, I'd like us to really think about what is the kind of relationship that I have with myself. Is it one of self acceptance? Is it difficult? What is my idea about growth, about allowing imperfection, and with how how uh, how we can appreciate the person that we are now. So as we do, we'll start with a short arrival practice, and for that, just maybe taking a comfortable position, sitting how you are, or if you're doing something, then that's fine as well. You could just perhaps in the midst of your day for the next few minutes, practicing being on your own side. So maybe for that, bringing to mind a recent moment when you felt happy with yourself and you were pleased with yourself. It might not be a major achievement, just something small. Maybe you say, handle something well, or you were kind, you followed through something, you did something nice for yourself. Say you rested when you needed to, or you made a difficult choice. So thinking about something recently that you did which makes you feel happy with yourself. And notice what happens in your body when you remember that moment. How do you feel? And now bringing to mind a memory, say something recent where you weren't particularly proud of yourself. And notice what happens now. We don't feel that great, right? But at the same time, we have the capacity or the capability of remembering both such moments. So we can remember the successful version of ourselves while also holding the imperfect version of ourselves. We could bring to mind the confident version as well as maybe the confused version, generous and selfish, calm and reactive. So we hold these opposites inside of us. So then maybe a good question for ourselves is that, can I have a, an accepting relationship or a healthy relationship with the whole person? Because I will have these contrasting, opposing forces inside of me. Is there room for me to accept both of these? So the most proactive question then is, or the most, what this talk today stands on is, do you actually like yourself? So what this question is not, I'm not asking if you think you're a good person, or if you believe you have potential, or if you're proud of your achievements, not if other people like you, but do you genuinely like the person you are when you are with yourself, or when nobody's watching you? Do you like yourself? Because we spend a lot of time, more than ever, trying to improve ourselves. We want to be better, more successful, more confident, mm, more attractive, more productive, healthier, more disciplined. But can can I assess if this desire to improve myself is partly coming from not liking myself very much. And that's what, we're trying to explore today. So before we get into that, I want to put a disclaimer in, which is that self acceptance is not condoning the self. It's also not self congratulation. So it does not mean everything I do is wonderful or I can never make a mistake. It does not mean I have no flaws. It does not mean I don't need to change. And it definitely doesn't mean that everyone else has to accept me exactly as I am. What liking yourself or accepting yourself fully probably means is that this is who I am right now. I can be really objective about it. I am comfortable in seeing the truth of who I am without using that against myself or without turning that against myself. So, can I be impartial? Can I be, um, fair in my assessment of me as exactly who I am right now? And not use that to judge myself, to berate myself, to use it, as any kind of benchmark. Um, but just be okay with it, be accepting of it. So you can say, so you feel I can be envious and still work on jealousy. I can accept that I avoid difficult conversations while I can still learn to communicate. We can accept our insecurities and still develop or work on our confidence. So, acceptance is not the opposite of growth. Acceptance does not mean we negate the importance of growth or we negate the need for growth. But if we don't accept, we cannot grow. So it's the beginning of growth. Now, a lot of us, we try to change through negative motivation. So, how we motivate ourselves is often through criticism. You're lazy, look at yourself. Why can't you be more disciplined? Or comparing with others. So, everyone else is ahead of me. I'm not as good as she is or as he is. Um, I can have benchmarks for myself. So, you should be better than this. And it can produce short term results. So, it can, in the short term, lead us, motivate us to do better, to do more. So, fear in the short term can be an effective motivator. Shame can be an effective motivator. It can produce different behaviors from us. But at the same time, there's a trade off because in the process, you are developing or you are creating a certain kind of relationship with yourself. And this relationship becomes um, a not so loving, accepting, kind relationship. So if your attempt at improvement or your attempt at growth is beginning with, I am unacceptable as I am at the moment, then it's not a peaceful place to be in because what you're essentially saying to yourself is that I will be worthy when I become better. And there's no end to better because we can always be better. So it's a moving goalpost, right? When I lose weight, I will feel good about myself. And this is how, a lot of self improvement can work. Now, you lose weight, but the next step is now I need to get fitter. You get fitter, now I need to look better. You work on your appearance, now I need more success. You achieve that, now and I need to feel more confident. So the finish line keeps moving. Why? Because that was never really the actual problem that you were trying to fix. The problem or the concern in the mind was, I am not enough yet. So as long as that belief remains intact, any achievement that you work towards, it's only feeding into that belief, which is, um, a well so deep that you can never fill it. I'm not enough yet. So if you put, self acceptance and we put self improvement side by side, there is a message that self rejection gives us, which is that I need to change because who I am today is not good enough. Vis-a-vis, self-acceptance would give a message which would say, I can change because I care about who I am. Now, there is a significant difference between the two because self-rejection comes from punishment. Self-acceptance is when we are willing to invest more in ourselves. So you could exercise because you hate your body and you don't like the way it currently looks. So that's your motivation. I want to like my body. I want to like the way I look. And and the motivation is coming from a place of self-loathing, a self-hatred sometimes. If you care enough for yourself, if you like yourself enough, if you love yourself enough, you'd probably think that I want to take care of my body because I live in this body. And same with anything else. So say our relationship with our work. We could work a lot, we could work constantly because we are terrified that we'll fall behind. And that's the motivation. I want to be better than this person. Or I want to earn more because what I have is not enough. Or the motivation for work, for success, for achievement could be that I enjoy becoming better at what I do. So, and the same maybe even for, so mental health, because I want to learn to emotionally regulate myself because there's a defect in how I am today vis-a-vis, I want to become someone who handles difficult moments more skillfully. So the behavior as a result of it could be the same, but the psychological foundation behind both these things are very different. Therefore, do you really like yourself? Or it's your performance that you like? If you removed, say, all your achievements for a moment, what would remain? So you take away your job, maybe your income, your relationship, your qualification, your usefulness. Temporarily, if I had to take those away, what would be the relationship with yourself that's left behind? And would you still like the person that's left behind? We're not talking about admiration or respect, um, or be impressed by. Would you simply be kind to the person who's left behind, or like the person? Would you enjoy sitting with that person? Interested in knowing them? Would you speak to them kindly? And I think this is one of the markers of your relationship with yourself, that when you are spending time with yourself, how comfortable is that? Who do we want to be around? We want to be around people we like. We want to be around people who we have a friendly relationship with, who we can feel comfortable with. So if we like ourselves, it shouldn't be that hard to be with ourselves, right? And contrary to that, if we don't like ourselves, or if we constantly feel like something is missing or we are not good enough, then it can feel really hard to spend even a few minutes without having a screen to or to be distracted by, or being around people, or constantly, doing something to feel like they're productive, can be really hard even to rest. So, so keeping that in mind, when I have time with myself, what is my relationship with me? Or what kind of self-talk do I engage in? Or do I not even want to spend a few minutes being with me because I feel deficient, or I feel like this is not the person who I want to know more, or this is not the person who, you know, in my free time I'd like to tend to or take care of. And that can be a really interesting marker for us to explore more about where we stand with ourselves. And as I said, the way we speak to ourselves reveals a lot about that relationship that we have with the self. So I think we've also spoken about this at some point, that say you have someone you really love, and they make exactly the same mistake that you made last week, or they did or did not do exactly the same thing as you did or did not do last week. What would you say? Probably you would say it's okay, or we figured it out. You'll comfort them, or at least you will have some kind of empathy for what they did, or and why they did that. Maybe you would say, "You under a lot of pressure. I understand, or you can learn from this." Now, imagine you make the same mistake. What happens? I always do this. I'm such an idiot. What's wrong with me? There is enormous discrepancy in how we would treat ourselves compared to how we would treat someone we really love. So we can confuse self criticism with accountability. They are not the same. And not just about criticism about something we did, we could also feel a lack. And so, again, thinking about someone if we really love, we would constantly not keep pointing out that they are deficient at something, or they don't measure up, or they are not as good as something as we think is should be. We would probably accept them as they are. Maybe they look a certain way, or they do a certain job, or they earn a certain amount. Mm, or they don't sing that well, whatever it is. We're not constantly nagging them. I hope so, for being better, or for not being good enough. But if when we spend time with ourselves, that's the chatter that's going on in our minds, then we need to really reflect on this relationship that we've created. And we need to be aware that self criticism probably won't change anything. Now, having said that, there is also need for accountability. There's also scope and good reason for accountability. And the distinction again between accountability and self attack is important. So, self acceptance does not mean that you let yourself off the hook for anything that is done or said or thought. So accepting, yeah, I handled that badly without saying I'm mad, or accepting that, yeah, I did hurt someone without making it I'm a terrible person. And also, I need to change this about me without making it there's something fundamentally wrong with me. So we need to preserve our agency. We need to create enough room inside of us to accept that we could be wrong, and at the same time staying away from that creating shame, because what shame does is it often makes people hide, it makes us defensive, it makes us want to avoid or give up. So shame might keep asking you what is wrong with me, Accountability will ask you, objectively speaking, what did I do? And what can I do differently going ahead? Accountability helps you move forward. It does not keep you stuck in that place like shame does. So, what if there are things, actually speaking, there are things about you that you don't like? Because, we could say in an ideal way that it's okay to be exactly as you are. That can feel false to us. It can feel like we're lying to ourselves. Why should I stay exactly as I am? I can change and I can be better and I can do things better. Mm, um, I can talk better. I can behave better. So maybe say you don't like your impatience, or you don't like how you behave when you are insecure. Maybe you don't like the fact that you could procrastinate. You have a tendency to do that. Anything. Maybe you feel like you're too controlling, or that you don't like how much approval you need or you seek. We don't have to pretend and say everything is okay. Not everything goes, and probably not everything should go. What we could try is that there are parts of myself I am still learning to understand, and there are parts of myself that I am willing to work on. That's more honest. So you can have preferences about your own behavior without withdrawing your basic kindness or your basic goodwill toward yourself. Now, sorry, what is the idea of a friendly relationship with yourself? What does it look like? Sorry, now, if you think of other people, what makes someone easy to be friends with? Easygoing person, somebody we like to spend time with. They listen to you. They don't constantly judge you. They can laugh, and they can have a certain humor about things, not taking everything too seriously. They are interested in you. They can forgive your mistakes. They can tell you the truth. Um, they have certain boundaries. They can celebrate your success. They don't keep score about everything. They don't constantly compare you to other people. These are the things that more or less make someone a friend, or make someone a person we want to spend time with, we feel comfortable with. So asking yourself, how many of these qualities do I offer myself? And this is something that can give us a very concrete route or a concrete way of understanding this relationship with the self. Do I listen to myself? Um, am I constantly judging myself? Can I laugh at myself, at my faults sometimes, at my flaws sometimes? Can I be interested in me? Can I forgive my mistakes? Can I tell myself the truth? Can I have boundaries? Can I celebrate myself? Can I not keep score about everything I do right and everything I do wrong? Can I not constantly compare myself to other people? So these are beautiful qualities to have. When we want this with other people, why can't we give these to ourselves? And this is something I hear sometimes, which is a discomfort in appreciating themselves. Like, people can be uncomfortable saying good things about themselves because there can be a worry: will I become arrogant? And humility is often associated with making yourself small, and somewhere, not showing a complete true picture of who you are, which also holds the nice things. So this fear of not coming across as arrogant or becoming arrogant again comes from a place of having issues probably with self-esteem, where you need to compare yourself and say, I'm better than you. We are not on any scale with anyone else. With self-appreciation, the underlying belief is that there are things about me that I genuinely value. I don't need to diminish myself, and I don't need to put myself above someone else to get that appreciation. In fact, a person who really can appreciate themselves, who does appreciate themselves, often has very less need to establish superiority with anyone else. And, a good question to also ask is that why do we struggle to receive our own good qualities? If someone compliments you, what do you usually do? A lot of people, they immediately minimize it. Oh, it was nothing. Anyone could have done it. I got lucky. Why do we do that? We do that because we are not thinking highly of ourselves at all. And when someone else does that, it can feel uncomfortable because it conflicts with that internal self image that I have of myself. So, a very practical skill is simply to let yourself receive. When someone gives you a compliment, responding only with thank you. Thank you is the best way to respond to a compliment, nothing else. And internally, yeah, holding it, maybe that's true. So, so really practicing that every time you get a compliment, the only response to give is a thank you. And and with that, okay, I think we have a question in the chat, which is, what if you're tired of being kind and empathetic, and there is a situation that you're again bound to, that you have to give up? Maybe the fun plans you made. So I guess you're asking that, um, are you asking that what if you're tired of being kind and empathetic to yourself? Because that's what we're talking about, and again, can we ever tire of being kind to ourselves? Yeah, we can. We should perhaps be tired of condoning ourselves and letting ourselves off the hook. But kind and empathetic does not take that away, does not take accountability away. It just means that the way we deal with ourselves is towards growth or towards change is with kindness. So you're saying no, tied and empathetic to others. Yeah, we can be. We can be, and maybe sometimes we should be. So depends on the situation, really. But I mean, holding holding some perspective that self-sacrifice does not mean kindness. So we can be constantly kind to someone else while also being kind to ourselves. And if there is a conflict, then being very objective in that assessment, but not treating yourself less than you would treat another person. So, so if you had to say do an audit, and you had to audit your relationship with yourself, asking yourself a few questions. First one being, what do I genuinely like about myself? So we are not talking about achievements, we're just talking about qualities, traits. What qualities do I genuinely like about myself? A second question to ask, what do I struggle to accept about myself? Next question, what do I actually say to myself about those things? So, what's my actual language that I use when I don't like something about myself? When I speak this way to someone I loved, yes or no? And then, what might be a more honest but kinder statement? So, say instead of saying I'm an impatient person, reframing that and saying, I can be impatient sometimes, but I'm learning to slow down. And an important question again is, what is one thing I appreciate about myself that I rarely acknowledge? We just don't see certain things, and it's a good exercise to pay attention to those things that we don't very easily notice. And then the last one, which I also think is an important question to ask, is what is that one part of me that I'm willing to stop fighting? What is that one part of me that I'm willing to stop fighting? So, is there a part of me or an aspect of me that I just need to accept as it is? Okay, so that was the about self acceptance, about liking ourselves. Um, a good practice again is looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, "I love myself," or "I really like myself." But knowing that liking yourself means that you're able to see yourself honestly and not use that information against yourself. So you are able to then say that this is something I need to work on without adding that this makes me unacceptable or this makes me unlovable. It also means that you're not comparing yourself to anyone else. You're not trying to prove that you're better or worse. You're simply acknowledging everything that you are without making that into a fixed identity. And again, also knowing that and trusting that this person that you're trying to improve is still a person who's worthy of your kindness, who's worthy of your care. So, so yeah, I mean, just being on your side all the time, always. And that's what I had to share today. So, leaving you with something to think about, maybe even practice. And we are here on Mighty Champions Daily Live every day. Wherever you are in the world, you can join us. We are live at the same time. And we have different experts coming. We have teachers of all kinds talking about numerous issues that can very practically help us in our daily lives. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, for practicing with me. And we'll be back tomorrow. So, have a good day, have a good evening, wherever you are. And see you next time.